hello, everybody. Nice to have you on another Wednesday winter chat. It's another chilly one out there. Still getting into the zeros at night. So that would be what? I don't know. But yeah, there wasn't much going on this week. I stayed in primarily. Well, I've been staying in most weeks, but it seemed like I should be staying in more so this week. Like did minimal grocery shopping. The last video I put up was I called it ice walk. That was really like pre ice. the It was still soft underneath, and you could still break through the crusty layer of ice. But the next day was definitely worse because it had compacted, and so it was just a sheet. Luckily, this is one of the things that came to mind when I was thinking about what to talk about today. Last year we had this problem, and we pretty much have this problem every year. And in the last couple of years, we hadn't done a very good job addressing it ahead of time. But this year, I remembered we should probably clear the driveway as best we can before the deep freeze. So when you saw me if you saw the video where I was walking on the driveway and it was still slush, we came out just around dusk that day and slawed it off the driveway as best we could. We dragged it to the side. We pushed it down the driveway. So the next day we had a good amount of cleared path that vehicles and people could safely walk on versus trying to maneuver sleet of ice, which is what it would have been. So yeah, as far as a thaw, we won't be having one till Saturday. So that's 3 more days before we get some good melt. And then Sunday also. So we will get a few pretty good melt then. But not everything. So the things that have been walked on a lot, like my path to the chicken coop, will continue to have a layer on it for a while longer because it gets super compacted. So I do walk around and as best I can. I try to make paths along like a bigger path versus just a straight line to the chicken coop. But otherwise, I could always take the long way and go around if I needed to. Oh, I should check on the comment section. Hi, Robin. Thanks for being here. I didn't have my comments on. You having a sunny and bright Chicago, but still chilly. Should improve by the weekend. Yep. That's me too. Thanks for the liking the tour. Yeah, I've been meaning to do a tour. It's hard in the winter, obviously, because you don't want to be having your little fingies exposed. So I braved it out for everybody. But I do want to do like a spring one before everything comes in, and then really like a late summer where everything is just you can barely see through. Well, it's not true. We've cleared quite a bit, so I'll try to do the walk again a few more times this year, so everybody can see the perimeter anyway. I guess I could do like in the middle at some point. It's 3 acres, but since we fenced it in, we brought it in a bit. So there's a little pieces of property that doesn't encompass the full 3 acres. So that's primarily for the dog to keep things out, to keep the dog in, and just overall, I don't know. Like we never worry about anybody just walking along or anything. We are the ones who generally walk around and probably walk into other people's properties, but most people who live around here could care less about their properties. They stay on their own places. So that's largely why the woods around here are mismanaged. Not the woods per se, but like New York has a lot of woodland. It's very green once you get out of the major metropolitan areas. But there's not enough service people, obviously, to work it. But yeah, there's a lot of dead and dying trees. And even on the road lines, you get a lot of dead limbs that fall onto the roads and onto the power lines. So instead of managing it over, the course of the years, it's just something that you take care of when it's a problem. That's just how it is. So yeah, we take a proactive approach, I believe. Plus, we do burn firewood, so we go in our woods and we collect or take down trees that could be problematic. And having put up the fence line, we had to really be like, which of these limbs are going to be a problem down the road. And then, unfortunately, you have your neighbor's trees, which could be in your property or could knock, or could, I mean, leaning into your property, or a limb of theirs could fall into your property. And for those things, you can only, take care of it when it's a problem. That happened to us, was it 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago? There was a big windstorm and rain. We'd gotten a lot of rain, and several huge, huge trees came down, and a couple of them were along the border. So the neighbor took care of a majority of it because it was their trees, but it took, and luckily this was before the fence line. So the neighbor took care of it. We took what we could on our end. But there's still, some trees that are just hanging on each other, and those are called widow makers, and you don't want to touch those if you don't have to. And luckily they're out of the way, unless, you're walking through the woods at that time, you pay attention to that. But normally, unless it's a windy day, you're okay. Wow, that was a lot more talking about trees than I was expecting. What was I gonna? Yeah, so update on the plants. I am maxing out my grow area downstairs. I don't know how I do it. Like, I'm gonna have to watch my old videos and see what did I do with the plants that are big by this point. Did I not have them bigger at this point yet? Or did I not grow? Like, I know celery, I have a lot more celery than I was anticipating to have. So that's taking up a good chunk of space. Um, but I have like a third of plants already filling up my trays, my shelves, and that means I have 2/3 more that I'm still having to plant that haven't started yet. Let's see. Down trees, always a problem for wooded property. We're always surveying the Wisconsin property. Yep, yep. Um, so my shelves are pretty full, and my brassicas are coming up this week. So I have around. I'm gonna be pretty conservative with brassicas this year. They're not that popular, but I am like kale mainly. But I am offering cabbage and cauliflower, which I don't think I've done in the past. So I'm going to be heavier on those and less on the kale. But in general, it'll be a lighter serving. Plus, the April sale is generally smaller and slower. So I feel like maybe I should do a round of it for April, a small round, and then do another round in March for the May sale. That might be what I'll do. That seems like the smart thing to do. I should have really thought that out with the other plants too. But no, like a lot of things that are taking up space is the chia, because chia takes 140 days to mature, and I almost got there last year, but that didn't. So I really started it early this year, but it takes up a lot of space. And I mean, once I fill up the basement shelves, I start moving things upstairs to the windows and the lights in the windows. So I think the chia needs to come out sooner than later, because that's prime real estate that I really need over there. So yeah, I think the chia is a tray. I think the onions might also need to be moved out. The thing with the onions is it's warm in the house. Although maybe if I put it in the other side of the house, it's a little bit cooler there. Yeah, so I'm starting to do the carousel of or the roulette of where plants should go, as they mature in their little containers. The thing with brassicas, at least, is once they get to a size, then I can start hardening them off outside, and hopefully the weather will be a little bit more cooperative by then, and that would not be so terrible. So I think it'll be okay. I usually find a way, and I can always buy more lights. Plus the shelves that I just put up that's behind you. That's needing some love. So this might be a good excuse to invest in more lights. Let's see, what else do we have? So I wasn't sure if I'd bring this up this week or another week. I mean, it goes a little bit in topic with what I wanted my topic to be. All right, I'll just mention it and then I'll elaborate on it another time. So future projects, like near future projects that I need to have accomplished. The big one this year because of the dog is dog proofing the garden. I like she's a puppy still. She's a giant puppy and it's what? She won't be a year old till when was she born? July. But it takes a full 2 years at least for these breeds of dogs to calm down and be not puppy anymore. So unfortunately, she's already made a wreck of certain grow bags that I have, and she obviously can get into any of the raised beds because they're not that tall. So luckily, I have enough. I think I bought like a whole roll of chicken wire that I had sectioned off where my tomato trellis is because the bunnies were a problem there. So I think I have enough to fence off the space next to it with my raised beds. But there are other spaces all over the place that will have tender plants in them that I need to barricade her from. So I'm gonna either invest in more fencing or put together. I have like fencing here and there, little pieces of them that I can figure something out. Maybe it doesn't have to be fencing. Maybe it would just be netting because I do have some netting also I could use. Robin says, south facing windows work best for me. Hard part is the south window warms up well in the daytime. Yep, Brassica's not happy with that. Exactly. I have minimal south facing windows. And yeah, it does it's like a room, one room, and maybe a room and a half with the laundry room, but can't really do much in the laundry room. But the one room is small and it holds heat that's being pumped in there, so it's terrible for Brassica's purposes or onions even. But well, the chia the chia will probably do well there. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. So yeah, dog proofing my garden. I had wrapped one of my fig trees in like a mesh, and she recently she decided that was a nice chew toy, so she took that out. So that fig tree is no longer protected from mainly the rabbit and mainly the voles and secondary the rabbit. So I know the voles like to make their tunnels under the ice. I've seen it, so I'm gonna have to I can't do anything about it now because everything's under a layer of ice. So even if I wrapped it, it would be useless because they're just gonna get under. So I'm just hope and pray. And I never even wrapped the fig trees like I should have because it's a little colder than they're used to as far as what I hear figs can get to. As far as their lowest temperatures, it shouldn't be like below maybe 10, 15 degrees at night or, at the lowest. And then not for super prolonged periods, whereas we've been having super prolonged periods of super cold weather for figs. So I don't even know if they've survived. They'll survive this hopefully last cold snap we have. But even if they do, they still have to get through, survive the voles and the rabbits. I was doing okay the last time I looked, but that was I feel like a long time ago. That was like in January, beginning of January. And that was a long time ago in as far as how the weather has behaved. Yeah, I have a lot of grow bags that I need to move into protected spaces because the dog has ripped up a grow bag already. She's dug out the soil in the grow bags already. So there's going to be quite a bit of moving stuff around. I also have those pallets that I made into beds, and they're not that tall. So I'm wondering if she'll eventually figure out to get in there, especially once I start digging in there and being, something of a curiosity for her will she then decide I want to get in there? Oh, so annoying. So it's like I got the dog to see the terror of the pests, and now the dog is becoming the pest also. So you can't win. Um, what else? Yeah, so fencing the dog is within the fence is the main priority this coming when it gets warm. As soon as well, I need the ground to thaw also. So this won't be like the first thing I do because I do need to get some stakes into the ground, and I'm pretty sure we're pretty frozen a good 6 inches or more. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's frozen down there. Um, the compost. I need to move the compost. Um, well, first of all, I need to move the compost that's in the tumbler because that's pretty full, and currently it's frozen, so I can't add any more to it. So I'm having an issue. Well, it's not an issue for most people. You just throw out your compost in the garbage. But since I'm all like, save every piece of scrap that goes in the compost, I'm like, where am I going to put it if I can't open the tumbler? Never mind, turn the tumbler. So the compost, that's the tumbler. And then the compost that's in ground is currently above, like uphill from the chicken coop. And also now where we had moved the dog fence, not the fence, yeah, the dog kennel. It's like a 10 by 10 or something like that, 10 by 10 structure is abutting the compost. There's only enough space for the wheelbarrow and myself. And that's just not practical. So I thought maybe just opening up the back end and closing the front end, but that's still uphill, and then I have to be going around all these trees and stuff. So that wasn't practical. So I just want to move it. I want it to be downhill of the chicken coop. I think I have found a spot that won't be such an eyesore from the house. And if we make it all pretty, and I'm hoping like I'll grow like plants around the vine up the not on the structure itself, but maybe I'll have to set up some trellising so that we can get some vines to hide it from the side of the house. Oh, which reminds me, I was at Tractor Supply last night, one of my super fast runs because we ran out of dog food, and they were selling, plants already, and I was so tempted, but I'm like, it's frozen. Now what am I gonna do with these? They're just gonna sit in the house. So I'm gonna hold off on buying any plants. But I saw clematis, and clematis is one of those plants that I wouldn't mind because I believe it's a fighting plant if I remember correctly from last week. So they had clematis, and I kind of want to get some as far as my plan to put them to grow them by the compost. But yeah, I've never been mindful of these plant sales since I generally order them online or something. But maybe next time, I'm hoping next time I remember and actually like film my if I buy anything or just if I'm looking around. I know one major purchase, which I don't know. I've always bought, not always, but mostly I buy, bulk soil, or I collect bulk soil. I haven't had to buy soil. That's a lie. I bought soil like a month ago because I was going to winter sow, but that's all frozen, so no winter sowing. That was just a bag. But I usually don't like to buy bags of soil. I like to buy bulk of soil. And that's problematic in itself because there's not there's no like regulations around here that your compost has to be to meet any regulations or anything. So the last time I did that, I think I got mostly like topsoil because there's so many rocks, so many papers and not papers, plastic in it, so many just garbage. So I'm reluctant. I might be able to find like one of those mushroom compost places, but that will be super pricey for sure. And I think it's a few towns further away than I know. I don't know if I want to travel. So I'll have to see. Oh, so why am I wanting soil? Well, soil settles, and the raised beds that I made are hugel style. So there's logs and twigs and big things at the bottom. So as the soil settles, it's disappearing into these larger substrates. So there's less topsoil per se to actually grow the plants. So I need to top it up, and there's not enough compost to top it up. Although my idea was to like make mounds. So specific, and this would also help with our cold because we're in the cold area. Because it would be like having an above ground planting. So I was thinking I would make mounds where the plants would go on top. So that soil would be warmer faster. So I would only need, that. I'm going to use like a half gallon as my measure, like a half gallon of mounded soil. That would be where I would plunk my seedling. And then the existing stuff, I mean, I'd rough it up, making sure it's not like some kind of impenetrable layer that the plant can't get through later. I'm sure that won't be the case, but yeah, it would be, so I'd rough up the original soil, and then I'd make mounds on top, put my seedlings in there. So I would only need about a half gallon's worth. I don't know. That's not a good measurement, but that's all I can think of. A half gallon's worth of soil block on top to put the seedling on top. So that would mean I wouldn't have to use as much soil, which is why I'm thinking of going to Tractor Supply or wherever, where it's on sale or something, to get just some bagged soil. And I've been wanting to like invest in ProMix because I've heard so much good about it. But yeah, I'm really thinking about buying soil for that purpose. I won't have to buy as much, so I won't have to worry so much about getting it in bulk. But we'll see. That's a lofty project for me. Robin says, a lady at Home Depot yesterday filled a cart with houseplants. All I could think was it's 7 degrees outside. Might want to wait until you have someone with you that can have a warm car waiting. That's true. Yes, the car is also very cold. That's why I didn't have any qualms about buying ice cream last night, because I was just like, here you go. Because I still had, I was in between places. I dropped off my son. I went to shopping, and then I had to pick up my son. So the car was going to keep the ice cream, not the car, but the situation was going to keep them cold. And I didn't have to worry about leaving them alone for a little bit. That's the only upside to winter, is that your produce or your dairy stuff stay cold and don't melt so quickly. Because in the summer, it's definitely a marathon to get home as quickly as possible when buying frozen stuff. I mean, I do sometimes bring, the baggies with the insulation, or, I mean, on the rare occasion, I might bring a cooler if it's like a lot of stuff that I'm getting, but usually it's just like, I gotta get home before these melt. But yeah, I know like some places are warm all the time, so they have plants. They always have plants on sale, but it's so weird to see those plants sitting in their little bags in negative conditions here in New York or in most of the Northeast. I feel so bad for those plants. It's like just living, surviving in their little cardboard and plastic containers. I wouldn't even know what to do with them once they got home. Like, I guess I'd have to keep them in the dark and cold, like I guess the garage. Like, yeah, I guess that's what you do, right? All right, what was I? I have made it halfway here, and I haven't gotten to the topic I actually wanted to talk about. What else did I want to say? We're waiting on the town to approve our shed permit. So we're going to go super simple. It's not even a shed. It's just like a covered carport type thing, because our main issue is firewood. We can collect firewood, but there's not a good space to store them so that they're out of the elements. We can leave tarped all the seasons, and tarps are the worst. They are so fragile, especially the new tarps. They leave plastic pieces everywhere, and then you got to throw them away. And that's so much plastic, so much little plastic, because they break up especially sitting in the elements. They break up into so many tiny pieces. It's so heartbreaking. I hate tarps so much. So the carport will have solid structures, covering it, and the wood that we store then will be protected. And so yeah, shed is a major project for us this year. And then if I'm lucky, after that, I picked out the greenhouse I wanted. It's the cheapest one at Costco, at least now. Who knows where it'll be a few months from now. But it's a small one because we don't have level space. So whatever we have to make a very tough effort to level it out. So the smaller, the better. And I'm the only one. I should be the only one in there that's doing anything. So it doesn't have to be big for my purposes. And yeah, so I'm hoping a greenhouse. It will be polythyrene, that thick plastic will be the shell. But it looks good. The base is solid, and that's what I was looking for, because a lot of these products have like a flimsier aluminum siding or structure supports, and the one at Costco had like a really beefy what is it? Not footing. The bottom was looked really heavy duty. So I'm hoping that it is, and that I will get it eventually. I've seen the Costco ones that have the cedar side. The walls are cedar. I'd rather not. Those are also very more pricier than I was willing to spend. So I'm just gonna go with and you still have the plastic, the rest of the way. It's not cedar the whole thing. So I'd rather just do cedar the whole thing, and then I could always put like brick if I wanted it to look pretty, which is not my style. Plus, I want something that's small, not small, easily removable, because permanent structures are a problem when it comes to reselling, and this property would do better, I think. Well, it depends on the climate when we do sell, which is bits down the road, but you never know. So it's sometimes easier to resell a house when it doesn't have so much other structures around it that people feel are like eyesores. So we're going small so that if we had to disassemble something, it would be doable. And that's why we're also going with a carport instead of a full-blown shed that we were going to do, because that could be easily disassembled also. Which, going back to the carport and the wood, we do need to, at least by the fall of next year, really think about getting a log splitter. My husband's not getting any younger. My child is not yet old enough to be, whacking the wood splitting with the axe. So a wood splitter, we've been looking on Marketplace and stuff, and we see them once in a while, but we haven't made the plunge. So that is an investment we will be making, so that we will have better inventory of wood. All right, so that brings me to taking stock. By taking stock, I mean, the new year rolls around and we make our resolutions to be, usually it's to be healthier. A lot of that happens in the new year, which is great. And we should, especially if you're a gardener. You cannot discount how out of shape you are when the season starts. And then you're like, even people who have to shovel snow, you get a lot of bad news during the season because of people who are out there shoveling when they haven't lifted a 10-pound of anything in months, and then they end up in the hospital. It's the same thing with the garden. You're going out there first thing in the nice weather, and you haven't moved an inch the whole few months, and now you're pulling muscle, you're overexerting yourself. God forbid you have a heart attack or something. but it's not good. So staying fit always, but especially now before the garden. Well, for some people it's already started. Some people it's already ending. No, but for us, for me, I've been active. I do have an activity. I do an activity every week that keeps me moving. So I feel like I'm okay. But I know the strenuous things that I do for the garden is doesn't compare. Like we're on a hill, so I'm doing a lot of leg work. I'm pushing wheelbarrows up and down that hill. So I get winded easily, especially in the beginning of the season. So taking stock of your health is always important. And as a gardener, definitely a must. And don't forget, wear your gloves, wear your masks if you're operating with heavy, dusty things. Um, if you're lifting things that are like wood, you get splinters. If you're digging in soil, especially if it's like soil you're not familiar with, who knows what's in it? There's bacteria. Yes, you'll survive mostly, but if you don't need that extra thing that makes you sick or ill, um, watch for ticks. If you're in tick country, which most of us are, watch out for those little bugs that bite. Even spiders, spiders, and any of the bigger things also. Um, yeah. So as far as taking stock of your lifestyle, staying healthy, staying fit, that's very important. And then a lot of times we don't take stock of things until there's an emergency, until something has already happened. So a lot of currently Kentucky is underwater because of all the rain they have, and I'm sure surrounding states as well. Recently, we had California with their wildfires, and that was devastating. And even, we had the pandemic not too long ago, so a lot of people still are in the mindset that you should be prepared. But a lot of people are not. A lot of people do not think about these things until it hits them in the doorstep. In the doorstep. It's at their doorstep. It hits them in the butt. It causes them to have to do a major life change. So another thing you should take stock on, especially now before tax season is upon us, is your finances. Where do you need to, especially with this economy? Robin wears clothing embedded with repellent. Ticks are everywhere. Yep, there was this spray my husband picked up that's anti-tick or whatever. So it's something definitely being mindful of to use every time we go out, especially the kids. The kids, they're the height of grass that the tick like to be on. So the kids are always getting them, in the back of their neck or their hairline. So it's a problem. If it was one thing if they didn't carry the disease that they do, but they do carry the disease, and Lyme disease is no joke. It is a forever disease. There's no cure for it, and it can take you out, and it might not affect you until way down the road, and it's not pleasant. Hi, Ro. Nice to have you. I've been talking quite a bit. You would not believe it. I've covered a lot of things so far. Um, so, taking stock of your finances now that tax season is upon us. If you're expecting, some great rebate refund of your money or not, but budget where you need to budget. We're not out of the inflation yet. The bird flu pandemic is upon us. Oh yeah, I've been seeing it more now. But has the price of your chicken, like chicken itself, I don't know whether it's rotisserie chicken, if it's cooked, or whether it's just fresh, frozen chicken, has the value of that gone up the same way as egg prices have gone up in your area? If it's gone up, I know there's a disparity of where egg prices are not really being affected. I know, like if I bought eggs, I buy it at BJ's because they have, you can buy a lot of it in bulk. So right now we are limited to 2 per customer per visit, I guess. But I don't even know because I don't go that often. because like maybe there's more of a restriction on it. Like you can't come back the same day or the same week or something. But yeah, other places have like long lines of people waiting to buy eggs. And other places have plenty of eggs and people don't want to buy them because they're like 3 times as much as they were a few months ago. But specifically, is the price of your chicken meat being affected as badly as the price of your eggs? Because if this bird flu is as they say, wouldn't chickens be more expensive? Chicken meat be more expensive? I haven't noticed. I haven't bought chicken in a bit. And I'm pretty sure that those chickens were already slaughtered way before the pandemic, was a problem. So they were priced accordingly. So maybe it just hadn't come through the line yet. Egg prices all over the place here. Everyone has a limit. Yep. Eggs are running $7. Yes, that's what I've seen per dozen in my area. We have limit too as well. Aha. See, that's in Ohio. Yeah, and that's probably just like white eggs, right? And that's not even organic eggs. Because I feel like organic eggs are like $10, $12 where I'm at for a dozen. But I haven't had to buy eggs in a bit. So luckily, I have chickens. I hope you all have some other form of protein if you really like eggs that you have available to you some chickens, because it has been a godsend that I don't have to buy eggs. I can just pass that aisle by as I go pick up the milk. Now, when they start picking on the milk, then I will be fast tracking my either sheep or cow purchase. Ro hasn't bought regular price chicken in months, so I can't comment. Okay. Yeah, that's regular eggs, not organic. Yep, exactly. So yeah, Ohio is in the same boat as New York. Now, getting back to the finances part. Budget, start a budget, continue with your budget. See, like we are getting absolutely, like, what's a nice word for it? The electric company is gouging New Yorkers left and right over here. I don't know what's going on. Prices, again, have tripled, doubled or tripled across the board, all the companies. It took me a while to catch up for some reason. My bill didn't come till recently, and I'd just been paying attention to the Nextdoor app, which is like a community Facebook, and people all over the place were complaining about theirs, and I was just like, we haven't gotten affected yet. But recently we got the bill, and I'm like, oh, we have gotten affected. Yes, we have. Aldi still has reasonable chicken meat prices. Okay, there you go. We shall see where the prices of chicken go in a few more weeks. What was I talking about? Oh boy. What was I talking about? What was I talking about? What was I talking about? Right? Not chicken. It was something else. No, it was finances. Okay, afterwards. Okay, I was talking about finances and electric. Right. I went on a tangent with electric. Thank you, Ro. So that's something we could not have foreseen. I mean, unless you thought you saw how other people were complaining and were like, okay, I'm going to be next. But that wasn't me, because I thought we get a report of how you're doing compared to your area of efficiency with electric, and I'm always super efficient. I don't know how, but I am. Not me. Our house is efficient somehow. So I always banked on that, being the case, that I'm not going to experience the electricity woes that everybody else is, because I'm super efficient. But here we are, tripled in the price since let's say 2 months ago. Tripled the price since 2 months ago. And yeah, it's been a cold winter. I know that. But looking at the history, it's definitely, our usage is definitely up. But I don't think it's up to the value that it's being rated as. I'll have to look back at my bills. I do keep at least a year of the electric bills, and I'm sure you can get it online. but I chose to keep some paper ones so I could easily get to it versus having to log on and where's my password sort of thing. But yeah, I'm curious to see how the rates have really come. So that was something not expected. So if you have a certain budget for your electricity bill, and now it shoots up, where are you gonna get that money? What are you taking it away from to fill that gap? And then not just money that's like tangible, but like if somebody loses their job, what is your you know what is your what are you leaning on if somebody loses their job, other than having to find another job, somebody gets a second job, selling things. And then also don't forget, like, wills or life insurance policies, those more like out of mind things, especially when we're young. We don't think about those things. But if you're married, if you have children, you have a partner, if something happens horrible and you've lost, that financial crutch, the foundation, what do you have to lean on? Where are your paperwork? Where's your paperwork? Where are your passwords? What, like, who are your, what is it called? Who are the people that help you with your transactions? The brokers, I guess. Um, who do you have to talk to that can navigate you through these hard things? Mostly paperwork. Who do you have for that? Take stock in your finances, not just the tangible, but also the stuff that you might not be thinking of right here and now, but you should have some awareness of. Leave written like on paper that you can pull out from somewhere. Leave written instructions. Don't leave it on a computer that can be damaged or lost or stolen or whatever. Um, leave instructions. Find your friends and your family who you can be dependent on. Your, what do you call those people when they have I don't know, the people who like take care of the stuff, not just your lawyer, but not the person you pay for, but the other people who you don't pay for that could help you take care of these things if you needed them. Like, let's say my mom has siblings, so she has somebody to lean on for that purpose. I don't have any siblings. I have my husband and my kids. So until my kids are old enough to understand these things, I don't have them to support me in that. So I only have my husband. If anything happens to him, if anything happens to either of us, where are my kids going to go? So luckily my husband has siblings. So, my kids have somewhere to be. So, all right. So that's just something to think about as far as taking stock. Now let's see. Rose says stacking up on free wood. Good job. Doing way more canning and stocking the pantry. Saving where I can. Very good. Yes. Food security. Back to the chickens. But yeah. Like, take advantage of your candies. I know ShopRite has their can sales. I don't know when they are, but take advantage of these sales that they have. Like, whenever there's a season change, there's usually like a pile of things on sale in like the middle of the aisles or at the end of the aisles. So pick extra stuff of things that specifically like not like ingredients. Pick up ingredients. Pick up salt and sugar and flour and I don't say bouillon cubes, but things like you can make your own bouillon cubes. But if you can't, then pick up extra bouillon or better than bouillon, one of those products. They're shelf stable. What was I saying? Sugar, salt, flour, baking soda, vinegar, What else can you? Things to make things. You want things to make things. Rice. We're a big rice eater. So I buy 20-pound bags. I'm down to my last bag. So I need to make sure I take a trip in the next few months and stock up. And I buy like 2 or 3 bags at a time. It's not going bad. I keep it in either a Mylar bag or one of those 5-gallon, buckets. Make sure the mice and bugs don't get into it. What else? If you are a canner, get extra jars and the rings and the lids, not the thing that corrodes. The lids or the rings? The rings? The rings. Soap. I have a subscription. Oh, not soap, detergent, laundry detergent specifically. Excuse me. I have a subscription, like Earth Breeze is the papery soap, which I thought maybe it was being better for the planet, but who knows? There might be microplastics in that. But I get a subscription for that. But I also have the powdered stuff because I'm not wasting my perfectly rich laundry pads on like dirty things, like dog things or something. So I have powdered soap detergent for that. But I also have soap nuts, which I use with my laundry sheets. So soap nuts are like either a fruit, some kind of seed that has a lot of soapiness to it, saponin. So I throw that in the wash once in a while when I'm feeling extra needing soap. So I have a box of that. So there's my soap. If I ever ran out of or was not able to get soap outside, I have the box of soap nuts to help clean stuff. Save water. Rainwater, snow is melting. Try to get a few buckets, just sitting around. I know we don't all have space to be storing these things, but when you need it, then you would have wished you had made the space, right? So there's lots of places that give away buckets, if not sell them for really cheap. So you can get buckets for nothing and fill it up with water. Try to stock up on bleach too. Like you can, I haven't researched it, but apparently you can bleach your water, and if you boil it. If you need to bleach it, then you do, and then that would kill a lot of bacteria. You just gotta let it off gas for 24 hours. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. let's see, what do we got here? Robin is planning a lot more garden choices this year around the end preservation. And you grow row. Excited what I'll be able to accomplish. I've done very well with almost no garden preservation planning this year. Making some plans should be very abundant. Yay, very exciting. What else do I have? What do I have written down here? Yeah, I've covered, staying fit, your finances, don't wait for emergencies. What else? Stock up on firewood if you can. Things to heat up your home. If you're relying solely on the electric grid, then really think about it. Like, how many times a year does your power go out? Like, obviously I live where there's lots of tree lines and stuff, so power is always going out. So I'm, super grateful that we have a stove, and I can also cook on that stove. Luckily, we have a gas stove, which I can power on without the help of the electricity. But, what if we run out of propane? So I can still cook on the stove. Obviously, if you have a grill, you can cook outside, but you still have to keep your propane up. So keeping extra cans of gas, propane, kerosene, whatever source of fuel you need is something to be mindful of. Now be careful that you're not breathing in those fumes, in a closed up home, or that, it's in a space that could be combustible. Watch out for that. But having extras of that is very useful. Like, we haven't had to power the generator this year, but when we do, we have to be mindful. It takes up a lot of gas to keep that going. So we have to be mindful that we have extra gas cans. And over the years, with people moving, older family members, they have lots of stuff in the garage that they don't use anymore, and that's the stuff we pick up. Is extra gas cans, like extra garden tools, because those are always breaking. Um, I've made saline solution in a pinch. What did you use the saline solution for? Feels good to be almost self-sufficient in a few food items. That's up. I do well with herbs, garlic, alliums, winter squash, for example. Yep, I still have a lot of winter squash I should get through, but I haven't because it's not like our favorite. But I'm so happy it's there because if I needed it, we'd have something to eat. Because food around here goes quick. Gosh. I try not to go food shopping like every 2 weeks, but it's impossible. I have to go weekly because things are just running out left and right. And I have to be more mindful. I'm not super good at this, but I have to be more mindful of buying like whole foods versus junk food. But with kids, it's really hard. That's my excuse. I know there's no excuse. I could be better at it. What else could you stock up on? Don't overstock up on seeds. I know we have a propensity to just collect seeds, but I know you're giving them away. So kudos to you. It's awesome what you're doing. Yeah, give some of your seeds away because if you're not going to get through those seeds, they're just, well, you can compost them, I guess. I know seeds last a long time if you do a good job of storing them, but like be intentional with what you're growing. If you feel like you need more nutrient dense foods, then grow more root crops, grow more dense things versus lettuce, I guess, versus those high water content foods. Herbs are important because it flavors food, and there's nothing worse than having to survive and having to eat bland stuff. So it's good to preserve. If you could get yourself a vacuum sealer, they're not too bad because then you could preserve some of your goods longer if you can vacuum seal them. And some things you can vacuum seal over and over. Because like there's the plastic one. What is that machine? But that relies on plastic. Like you have to have a reserve of the plastic that squeezes the food and sucks the air out. Food saver. If you have a food saver, that's great. But you should have extra plastic on hand. But if you don't, then get this. You can put things in jars, and there's a machine that you can put on top. And they come in all different ways, and it sucks the air out for you, or you do it manually, and then you have things in jars that are well preserved. And your storage space. Be mindful that it could flood if it's like a basement situation, or it could be an earthquake. So be mindful to protect them from those situations. And what else? I know there's so much to cover, and I haven't lived long enough and I haven't experienced enough to have all the situations, but I watched a lot of YouTube, unfortunately, and thankfully some of it sticks and I can give it back. Let's see. She's saying, Rose saying, clean a bad gash. Oh, okay, for the saline solution and be used for eyes. Yes, okay, gotcha. Oh yeah, so that's another thing to stock up on is rubbing alcohol and hydrogen peroxide. And if you know how to make your own saline, learn to make your own saline solution. It can't be that hard, right? Salt, water. Now, how do you distill water? I think it has to do with the steam, right? Because that's how it works. Like the dehumidifier in my basement, it sucks up the air and then turns it into water. So that's now distilled. But if you had to distill your own water, would you just steam it and then the steam that runs off repools and then you collect that and that's distilled? I got to look into that. And you don't always have to buy all the fancy gadgets to get these things done. You know, like people who were making wine before, they all had the fancy gadgets of how to make wine now. So things are possible. Buy books. If you're interested in any of these things, buy a book on it. It will help you immensely. And don't just buy a book that covers things in generalized sense. Buy specific books. Like I get gifted and I've maybe bought like books and they just turn out to be, you know, generalized information. And I'm like, okay, I already know that. I need like a deep dive into it to ask those deep questions. So buy books specific, very specific to what you're trying to do. Like I was trying to find a cookbook specifically that had how do you make ingredients? How do you make baking powder? I was specifically looking for baking powder because that was my tell if a book was going to be the type of book I wanted. And I did find it at the library and then I forgot what it was, but I'm going to order it once I go back to the library and find it again. But how you make certain ingredients versus just having the ingredient on hand. So there's a lot of things that we could buy in bulk, like baking powder, which I make pancake mix, DIY every week or so. And baking powder was something I was having to buy in that little container. But once I heard I could make it myself, then I was like, okay, buy the bulk of baking soda, buy the bulk of, cream of tartar. That was the main ingredient, was cream of tartar. And then mix those together and you have baking powder. So cream of tartar is something you should stock up on if you want to make that. All right. I think I've covered as much as I can cover today. If you want me to do a deeper dive on anything, I will gladly do it. I'll sit there and do some research, real research. And I don't know if anybody wants to talk about anything deeply, contact me and we could do, doesn't have to be live. It could be a pre-recorded thing and then I can edit out stuff that you don't want me to have included. So reach out at joyofgardening13@gmail.com. You'd think I'd have a banner of that or something, but check in the description. It's there if you wanna come up or just chat with me for anything. All right, I made it through an hour and I talked a lot. It always surprises me that I make it through an hour of talking by myself because generally I'm the listener in a group setting and I don't really say much. But there's not really much I can say on any specific topic. That's why I usually have to have a bunch of stuff coming in to talk about. But I've been doing some collabs with some fun people, so watch for that in the coming weeks to come out. Hopefully more of you will reach out and we could do stuff together. I know season of gardening is coming up upon most of us, so we will be busier. And I think, these chats are going to be less scheduled. I think come March, I might not be able to do every week anymore, but we will see. It is easier to do these talks versus having to edit stuff, but we'll just play it by ear. Well, thank you to my lovely chatters, Bro and Robin. I appreciate you supporting me, and to those who watch me in the replay, I appreciate you. Leave a comment. It helps to push the video out. If you're new, please subscribe. Check out my past playlists. What else? Is that all? Is that all the jargon to end the live? All right. Hopefully I'll be here again next week with some other fun topic. I'll talk to y'all again soon. Have a great rest of your week.